Welcome, everyone.
Howdy.
What is happening? It is, I've never played that, and I never made an intro for the show. So there's your generic countdown.
We are here. It's going to be a thing. We're going to do things.
With me, why am I swear my chair is there it goes. My hydraulics keep going like this, very slow. I'm going to need a new chair. I'm shrinking.
Shrinking throughout the show.
I'd like to welcome the GEEKSTORIAN to the show. He's played a game that he's never played, and I played a game that I've never played, and they may surprise you. although the hashtags might have gave it away.
I think mine might surprise people less than yours, because yours was far more popular, I think, than mine.
Sneed goes, I'm guessing the game's Darkwing Duck because of the hashtag. I didn't think about that till I saw him post that. PJ Smith, what's going on? Good to see you. Emma J says, when there's trouble, just call Darkwing Duck.
That's right.
Kurt Bradshaw, what's happening, man? Good to see you.
Vinny's house as well. What's up, Vinny? And Panda Sub's here.
Yeah, Vinny, good. Very good to see you.
Yes,
the immortal Panda Sub, Mr. Sub 2000. Very excited for this episode. Indy Racing. Oh, my God. How are you doing? Dude, I was going to say, are you in the OR? Due to be in the OR in 15 minutes. Have a good time. Catch you in the next one. Thanks for stopping in anyways. He is constantly.
Yeah, that dude's always working, man. He's probably one of the hardest working people I know.
OR, man. George Games. Good morning.
That's right. Good morning, sir.
What is happening?
I would say Panda Sub is a hardworking person too, but he doesn't get paid for anything. So, it's just self-inflicted torture.
There you go. Well, I mean, that's kind of me too. I kind of self-inflict my own woes, I guess.
Yeah, you sort of punish yourself a little bit.
I do.
We all do that to an extent.
So, as a lot of people know, because I've kind of been mentioning it, I mean, I guess it's not really like secrets for the games, but Zelda 2, the Zelda series in general is something I've never really was a fan, or I didn't like go bonkers over it back in like the 80s like everyone else did. And I really thought, I don't know, like anything that had a lot of talk, like RPGs in general, I didn't really like. But later in life, like when TurboGrafx came out and Yeast Book 1 and 2 came out, that like changed things. I was like, whoa, I understand that like the graphics and the overhead maps, it was because I was always looking for like better graphics, really cool bosses.
But you're big into Kadash. You love that game. And that's an action RPG, basically.
It's kind of, and maybe that's why I thought Zelda 2 wasn't as bad as like a lot of people thought that I'd think it was. But like, I don't know, like Yeast was like, you went and talked to people, you found stuff. Kadash was kind of the same way. So I kind of get it. I didn't like turn-based stuff, like that stuff to just kind of, I don't dig at all. I do. Anyways, going back to Zelda 2, when I saw this, I was like, okay, it's pretty. I mean, I have to think of the time it came out in it was on the NES. It was the second Zelda. Now the first, like going back to the first Zelda, that's what I was originally going to say is the first Zelda I played with a little bit more. Like my friends had it, they loved it. I was like, yeah, it's okay, I'm good. I didn't even borrow it. I had played it here and there, just like for like a second, and I never really got into it. When the NES Mini came out, and I had a friend of mine, she was staying with me, her and her son, and he was young and he was getting into like all the old games, and he loved like Mario and Zelda and all the stuff. And I was like, oh, hey, I got an NES Mini. So we're going through the games, and he's like, well, what's Legends of Zelda? And so I was like, oh, well, here's Zelda. And the next thing you know, I started playing it, and I'm like, oh, this is kind of fun. I didn't get very far, but I was like, I go, okay, I get it. I get the appeal. You're basically just kind of running into things, trying to get coins to get things, and it's all kind of the same. And it was Universal Gaming. What's going on? Welcome. I don't know. I never got into Zelda. Also, like Zelda 2 is one I'm like, well, I've literally never plugged that cartridge. I own the cartridge and literally never plugged it in and played it.
Right.
And everybody's like, oh, you don't want to start with that one. You're going to hate it. And then other people were like, oh my God, you're absolutely going to love it. It's so good. Don't listen to people. It's just, it was before its time, and it was just action and then role play and everything. And
I think it's one of the tougher ones, quite frankly. If I were to rank the Zelda games, that one would be at the very top of difficulty. It would be it would be either at the top or in the top 3, I think, as far as difficulty goes.
Yeah.
It doesn't make it a bad game. It's actually a cool game. But if you come from playing the original Zelda
and
then you move into the second one, it's so different.
It's a lot different.
And it's a lot harder to start out with. Because you have a lot more flexibility and I want to say almost like range and defensive capabilities on the first one than you do on the second one, right?
Yeah.
And so it makes it just a harder game. And then getting your brain around the leveling system, which was new, and I want to say the only time that Zelda ever really did that kind of leveling system. So
yeah, because you kind of had to grind to kind of, and I'm like I said, I only played it a couple hours,
which is one of the things that I didn't want to change your initial experience, so I didn't say anything. But one of the first things that I always do in that game is I always grind out like a couple of levels, right? I try to get like my sword, my magic, and my hearts to like level 2 or better before I even go to the first temple. Right? Because
so you're basically in the field, like in the overhead.
Yeah. If you stay on the main road, whenever you do an encounter, you don't get any enemies, right? If you go into the short grass,
that makes sense. Okay.
You get moderate enemies. If you go into the forest area, you get the tougher scenarios, right?
With the spiders and everything.
Right. So you can kind of, and you'll also notice there's like, if you've never seen Ganon, it probably wouldn't stick with you, but there's
looks like a giant pig from the
if you run into those giant pigs, those are tougher than the other ones, right? And then the fairies will be there to give you like health and stuff. Those pop up randomly too. So you can kind of control a little bit your experience and how you want to tackle it in the beginning if you understand those concepts. If you don't, you have to figure that all out while you're grinding the game. The other thing that's really tough about the beginning of that one is very, very, very early on in the game, you go into Death Mountain. And Death Mountain in the game is especially hard.
Which one is Death Mountain?
Death Mountain, you may not have even gotten there, but
I'll show you let me show you a little clip. Well, this is just me starting the game.
But I have a real life replica of the Master Sword from that game.
That's pretty sweet, actually. Oh my God, there it is.
This is about actual size.
I would say that is exactly what he was like. He had a dagger. He's like he had a dagger. I was going to
bring up a butter knife because that's actually about the right size.
Yeah,
and that was my biggest complaint in that game was you go from the Master Sword being like this almost like a broadsword size weapon to being a kitchen knife and not even a big kitchen knife in that one, and so it's much more challenging because you have way less range to work with, and the enemies don't. They get like full-size broadswords, and you don't.
I probably should have put that banner up. Anyways, I'm learning, folks. I'm learning. Zelda 2. So this is like me firing it up literally for the first time and like getting through it. I mean, I know how the NES works, so it's not like I'm stupid to it, but this was like me starting it up. This is like a minute clip. Here we go. Is that a comet? It's a shooting star. Cool music. Register your name. Oh, how about Poopy Pan? Kind of like Peter Pan. Poopy Pan. All right, I don't know what I'm doing here. Start. 3 am I? Do I have like a limited amount of those? There's my life and magic. Instructions probably would have been good. All right, so that's me just like firing it up, going, okay, so I have a sword. Then I'm throwing knives. I'm like, do I have unlimited versions of those? Like, and I didn't know. Like, I didn't read anything.
Yeah, that's actually a holdover from Zelda 1. Anytime your life was full, when you would swing your sword, not every single swing, but like every other swing, it would like shoot a magical blade out. So it's just indicative of how the game works. Later on, I think it only does that with like the actual master sword. The first game didn't really have what they called a master sword. They called it, you had the white sword, and then you had the magic sword, right? So they didn't even call it the master sword at that point.
Big Block says, I never played any Zelda on NES. Yeah, it's pretty much the same for me.
Link to the Past is probably I think that's personally one of the best ones.
A lot of people say that too, and I'm guessing
a lot of people really like Ocarina of Time. That's another one that's super popular as far as like.
And someone said, I think it was Emma said Majora. Oh, Zelda 2 and Majora's Mask, which was
I never really wanted to start Majora's Mask because there's like a hard time limit of like 3 days, and so you kind of have to pick and choose what you're going to do, and then go back in time and restart because you only have 3 days to like keep the whole world from dying and that kind of stuff.
Oh, wow.
So I never really was drawn towards that because that kind of mechanic always kind of bugs me. So I always kind of shied away from that one.
Yeah, I always hear about that's N64, correct?
Yeah, that was on the N64, and they did a re-release on the 3DS. Same way with Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, I mean those. Yeah, I always hear about this.
I didn't know there was a Zelda manga. I should have realized there's one. It's a very Japanese game, so that would make sense.
I have not. But anyways, as I ventured in, here's me kind of running into like the village for the first time and kind of figuring out and talking to people, and then anyways, here it is. It's a village. Whoa! I don't know what that was about, but okay. Welcome to Raru. Similar. Let me help you come inside. Don't mind if I do. I can restore your life. Get candle in Paroka Palace. Go west. So then at this point, I'm like, all right, I need to go west. You know, and I explored around a couple more villages, and I'm going through and talking. People saying, if all else fails, use fire and use the keys where you find them. You know, I'm basically just trying to get all this info in my head. But the only directions where you got to get the candle before you go to the palace. You know, you got to get the candle before you do it. And it keeps saying head west. And it's impossible to go west because everything's blocked. So this is the point where I'm like, okay, I'm frustrated now. And now I start dying a lot because I'm going into these dark caves and trying to learn where things are.
See what, and I think if I recall, I think the candle's actually in the first palace, because I remember I had to go through there in the dark, which is not that challenging. There's a couple guys that can hit you, but it's not.
Well, because I eventually make to the palace with the elevator, like the stone palace.
Well, that's like every single one of them. But the first one that I think I always set up, which is the only one I think you can reach at the beginning of the game, you go through one tunnel area, which is black because you don't have the candle.
Yeah. Which I did because I ended up getting to like that palace,
beach, right? So
you got to fight like this devil guy.
I'm trying to remember. I want to say it's like a dude with there's a dude with a horse head at the very end of that one. I don't know if you got to the end of the palace though.
I got to a point where it was well, basically this is the final clip that I have. This is like a minute and 10 or minute and 15. But this is me getting to the palace. Starting out in those dark caves, learning to kind of look for the shadow, kind of the moving shadow on the floor to where you could tell where those things are.
That's the best way to do it.
And then this is me like very first starting that, and then I was like, oh, okay, I sort of get it now. Alright, so I got that key now. Key. Hey, what happened here? So weird. It's like every so often you come upon an enemy. Oh, here we go. Wow, that was that like a boss? And that's kind of after a bunch of exploring for hours. Like that's literally as far as I got.
And honestly, you played it exactly the way anybody would have played it the first time they played that game, which is the absolute hardest way to play that game.
Yeah.
There's a because you didn't even get your first level.
No, because I wasn't sure on the grinding.
Level, and you didn't even get your first level.
So I should have just ground the hell out of it and started leveling up.
Yeah, because basically what happens is when you level your magic, each spell you cast, which you hadn't even gotten any spells yet, costs
less. What's up,
less.
Mikey Stu?
What's up, Stu? When you get your life, it's kind of like getting armor. Like you take less damage each hit.
Okay.
Right?
And you said it increases the length of your sword eventually, or no?
No.
Just
never.
The power. Oh my god.
Just the power.
So I'm always basically stuck with a pen.
Yes.
Just going like this at giant creatures that are ready.
And what's bad is you start running into knights that have full length of like broadswords that they're swinging at you. And it's like, what the hell, guys? And the funniest part of it is your sword looks like it should be a broadsword. And when you swing it, it's just this itty bitty little dagger thing. The continuity makes like no sense.
Yeah. No, it was so that coming, and mind you, I'm kind of probably going to go back and start playing. I'm trying to. I need to find where that freaking candle is. First of all,
I want to say it's in that palace.
So it's somewhere.
There's two things you have to do in that palace, right? There's two objectives when you get there. The first objective is to get the item that's in there. That's indicative of every Zelda game.
Yeah.
Right. There's always a helpful item in there. Usually in the first Zelda, they not only help you solve puzzles, but they also help you in combat for the most part. In the second one, they mostly seem to be
happening.
I won't say that some of them didn't help you with combat at all, but for the most part, you relied on your sword and the magical spells you got for combat, and then all the other items you got allowed you to traverse more of the world or made navigating it easier, like the candle would lights up every cave, right?
Right, which obviously that's going to stop a lot of unwanted deaths and
so it lets you be able to see kind of what's going on. And then there's stuff that lets you remove boulders. There's things that let you remove other obstacles in the way. There's stuff that lets you get to areas that you just can't get to. That's really the main stuff in the palace. That's what that gets for you. And then there's other things that you have to do to progress that they don't really blatantly tell you. Like you'll go into town and they'll just say something, and then you'll wander around and you'll find an item, like in a cave or something, or something in the middle of a forest somewhere. Right. It's all very cryptic. Right.
Oh, so a lot of like the forest battles, you can maybe find an item in one of your battles.
Like there's definitive locations. And let me pull up something here, because what's funny is every time, because I played this game at a friend's house, and every time I play Zelda 2, I keep thinking that it looks an awful lot like this game. Pull this up. This is Rambo on the NES.
I remember this game.
Does this not remind you?
It looks like the
of
same
Zelda
game
2?
engine.
It almost looks like the same game in a way.
Yeah. Oh my God, I remember playing. My buddy had this in his face.
Yeah, it reminds me so much of this game. And I don't know which one came first. But it's one of those, like, the two
Zelda
games
2
are
is
so
80
similar looking.
This was 87 for Zelda 2.
Okay. But I mean, you've got like the floating enemies, you crouch, you stab stuff, you get like 1 point, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's weird. Doesn't he have does he have like a little knife as well?
Yeah. Yeah, he's using his Bowie
He has
knife.
the Zelda sword.
Yeah, he's using like a Bowie knife. If anything, his blade's actually a little bit longer than
Oh,
the
now
sword.
I want to go back and play this.
But yeah,
like, this is literally like a
so
forgotten
much of that.
game.
You just don't have a shield. But you get all sorts of other weapons in here that you can use that have like limited use. And his animation's a little bit slower, but it feels very similar. Every time I play it, I keep thinking,
it looks like it was built in the same game engine or the same.
Yeah, it does. It feels very much like the same game engine. But this isn't a Nintendo title, I don't think.
No, Rambo.
Yeah, even Viking Stew's like Zelbo.
Yeah, exactly. I love the animation of him there. He's like a cartoon Rambo. Zelda 2 is like finally scoring a date with Angelina Jolie and finding out she has debilitating crabs. And that's my review, and it's accurate. Well, I don't know about that. I'm interested to kind of learn it. At this point in my life, am I really going to dedicate a lot of time playing some Zelda 2? To be honest,
honestly, if you're playing it on like a Pi, or if you're playing it on
that's pretty much what I got.
Or if you're playing it on the NES Classic or anything like that, it just like save state and then log out. I mean, do it in a normal spot like the overworld or something like that. Or
right.
The main way there was, I only knew of one way to save in the original Zelda game, and that was to die. Right? You had to die in order to save your progress. Mm-hmm. My understanding from talking to other people is you could plug in the second controller and then you could save. I don't know if that works for sure. And I also don't know if that same trick works in Zelda 2. If it does, that would be a much better way to do it than to run off and find a way to get yourself killed, which in Zelda 2, honestly, is not that hard. In Zelda 1, it's much, much harder.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I didn't think it was terrible. Like if I had that as a kid, I would play that for weeks to try to find everything.
Yeah, well, I mean, honestly, there aren't that many caves and stuff. There's a couple of areas that are pretty obtuse, but most of the stuff you're kind of blocked off until you find certain things anyway. So you're going to kind of like explore the area, and most of the areas you need to go literally look like openings that you can go into, like the first cave you went into to get to the palace, right? They look like openings you should be able to go into, right? In other areas, when you'll get hints from people like, oh, this does such and such, or this removes this. And then eventually you'll stumble into those items. The two most obtuse things are when you have to go into Death Mountain. One, navigating Death Mountain is kind of hard, and there's an item you need early in the game that's at the very, very end of Death Mountain. And it's not intuitive to go there because it looks like I don't need to be here. Right? You definitely get the feeling when you walk in there that I shouldn't be here. And you do. I guess it's the only way to progress in the game.
Well, it's definitely, I don't want to say like I said, I think there's a lot of people that are split that absolutely love it, absolutely hated it. And or I shouldn't say hated, but maybe more really disappointed because they were a Zelda 1 fan, but I don't know. I think it's a cool game. I think my younger self during the time of NES probably would have really sat down after school and played hours of this like daily, And
honestly, that's how you can play it. You can play it in like 30-minute stints, right? You boot it up and you grind out a couple of levels. Early in the game, you can do that because it's like 50, 100, 150, 200, etc. As you get higher in levels, because you can only get to level 8 in each item, like the last power up, I want to say is like 6,000 to 8,000 experience. It gets kind of ridiculous, right?
Oh, wow.
But here's the other trick. When, well, I don't know how much I should tell you, depending on how much you want your experience altered.
I mean, at this point, I'm like I said, I may play it a little bit. I don't know. You know, if I get bored,
if you finish a palace because when you finish a palace, when you
I can always pull this up on the Switch too.
Yeah, when you finish palace and you get to the end boss and you beat the end boss, when you're exiting, it'll put a gemstone in this statue that's there, right? And when you've got everything, that closes the dungeon. You can't go back into it. But that immediately gives you a level. So what a lot of people do is they'll get levels up to the point to where it's getting too tedious to level. Like they'll get everything to level 6. And then they'll go back into the palaces and return all the crystals. Because that immediately levels you up.
Oh.
So then they hit 8 across the board. And then they go to finish the game. Now, I didn't necessarily do that, but I found other ways and places that I could level that wasn't too bad that I was okay with, right? So
most classic games had you collecting money, a useful trade for adulthood.
Yeah, that's true. It's very true. And honestly, you don't really use money in this game, which is kind of funny. The biggest thing you collect is like you may or may not have seen them. They'll drop little almost like jar-looking vial things.
Yeah, I was trying to pick those up, which you have to basically. That's another thing.
You have to stab them. Yeah,
I don't like the stabbing. I wanted to walk over it and collect it. If I'm in the middle of a battle and it's going to disappear or what, I'm like, oh my God, I have to stab anything I need. The keys was another one. I was like, how do I get this? How do I get this? I can't fit in there. And then finally I'm like, stab.
Yeah.
So that was
that refills your magic. That's what that does. Which you probably also didn't notice because you didn't have any spells. And you wouldn't at that point in the game.
No,
actually,
because I need to level up for that.
Spell you could get before you get there, and I think it's one that ups your defensive capabilities. But you have to just really hunt through the towns to find people who will teach you spells, right?
Yeah.
And there's certain spells you have to be able to complete the game. There's one in particular you absolutely have to have it to be able to get past the dungeon, because without it you can't. It's impossible. Because you have to. There's one called Reflect that you have to have in order to beat the boss. Because otherwise you can't do anything with his attacks and you can't hit him.
So it's more, you're right. It is way different because the original one was literally square after square, like room after room kind of dungeons. And then you come out and you grind on the little spiders and I call them spiders.
You grind coins because you bought it. You bought a lot of stuff in that game. Like there was a power bracelet that reduced your incoming damage. There was the bow that you had to purchase, the large shield you had to purchase.
Yeah.
Anytime you fired your bow, it used money in that game. So you had to have money if you wanted to use your bow.
It was interesting. I think the exploring was a little more fun in the original. I mean, just like I said, I probably had about the same amount of. I probably played that for about a week, the original one. When I got my NES Mini, that's when I kind of got into it, like accidentally. Like I was saying, I was showing it off, and then I'm like, I'm going to play this, But I never got too far,
The first one's a lot of fun if you let yourself get into it. It's a different kind of RPG, but yes, right. They're called Tektites. Yeah.
Yeah. I knew there was Tektite or Teknite or whatever.
But it's an interesting game because there's a couple of combat mechanics that are introduced there that really aren't used anywhere else in the series. They were unique to that series. It was the first time you had side-scrolling stages. It was the first time Link could jump.
Right.
He wouldn't jump again until Link's Awakening. They did that on the Game Boy. And on that one, there were some side-scrolling stages, and you had to get an item to be able to do it. And then you wouldn't see jumping come back into the game until like Ocarina of Time. Like it was just gone as a mechanic until.
That's interesting. I never played Keith Courage. Keith Courage is not I don't think it's that bad of a game. It was the pack-in.
Honestly, I played a little bit of Keith Courage, and it's kind of fun. It's very cryptic. Like I would have the same. I had the same problem with that you had with this game. It's just cryptic to me.
Yeah, it's weird because you got that little, like, when you first start it, you're like, this is the game, but it's actually kind of like the village. Like, you're going through to buy stuff, and then you beam up and get in the mech suit, and then that's the game. Like, that's the action part of the game. Then after you beat your boss, you come back and you're in the little rainbow, like, like a little, what do you want to call it? Little happy friendly land again. It's like, but then it's like, and then it beams you down, and then you're in those. So I don't know. It's hard. I've never beat that.
I got a little ways in it, but I never got very deep in it. And Sneed says Minish Cap had Rock's Cape, and I haven't played through Minish Cap. I need to play through that one. That's probably why I missed that, because I haven't played through that one. But no, I mean, Zelda 2 is sometimes I'll be the first to admit that you have to really stick with that game to start to get a feel for it. Once you start to get a feel for it, it gets much better. But for a lot of people, it never really fully resonates like a lot of the other Zeldas do.
Oh yeah,
because it doesn't feel like any of the others, and so it's a very odd man out kind of scenario. I feel like you could reintroduce some of that mechanic in other ways. Like you could add it into a more modern Zelda, kind of like the way they did 2D Mario levels in Mario's Odyssey, right? You could have sections like that where you're having to do something like that as part of a puzzle or something like that.
I see. I never played Mario Odyssey. Do you? You know what's crazy?
Mario Odyssey had sections where it was mostly a 3D game, but you would have sections where they would do like 2D Mario platforming, right? And so you were back to doing like 2D Mario through a section to get to there. And then you come through the pipe and you go back to being 3D. So it was a cool way of doing 2D retro throwback aesthetics in a modern 3D Mario game, which I thought was a really cool mix. And it would be neat to see that happen in Zelda. Now, I don't think it'll happen in the trajectory they're doing now, because it doesn't fit with the vibe from Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, right? It just doesn't. I don't see any way to really fit it there. I guess you could, if you really wanted to. They could probably work out a way to do it, but I doubt they'll do it. Because Zelda 2,
now you're pretty much, you're just like an adventure story time now. I mean, you're literally in a world now.
Yeah, it's basically just an open world with smatterings of story is what it is now.
Anyways, moving on to what you were playing. This is interesting because I guess NES pretty much had everything, so I don't know why I didn't think. I mean, there's DuckTales and there's a bunch of stuff. I didn't know there was a Darkwing Duck on NES because I knew of the one on TurboGrafx, which is kind of a bear to play.
I've not heard good things about that one, and honestly, I didn't know about this one. And I got to give it up to, I want to say the first person I saw stream this was Evil Streams, actually. I saw him playing it. I'm like, what? This is a Darkwing Duck game? And then I realized very quickly as I was playing the Disney Afternoon Collection, which is how I played through this one, the reason I never played it is it came out in 1992.
So it is a very late. It makes sense because that TurboGrafx is already
out. NES game.
Yeah,
and I had already moved to the Super NES. I don't even think I had my NES when this came.
I was my buddy had Genesis. I purchased TurboGrafx. I didn't know anybody that had a Super NES until I finally bought one as well. And then eventually I had all three, which is weird because that's when I started working and I was able to have. I was just getting out of high school and I started buying my own stuff, and.
Yeah.
So eventually I was like, well, no, I want a Genesis as well. I also want a TurboGrafx, but I also want the Super NES. So like I had all three eventually towards the end of the 90s or mid 90s, I should say.
So I didn't do anything as fancy as you did. I just raw recorded like a bunch of footage.
Oh, no, that's cool.
Where do I have this here?
I'm interested to just see what it's about and like what you had to do and stuff.
Yeah, so I'm just going to keep this on mute so we can just have this play while we kind of talk.
Yeah.
So I'll just start playing on this as soon as you throw this up. So this is just kind of like the start. Basically, a big crime wave kind of went through the whole city. They think Fowl's on it, so they're going to get Launchpad to go through there. They want you to collect all the
Launchpad. Yeah.
And what's cool about this is you get to choose one of 3 levels to start. So you can pick them in any order you really want to. And I think it started on this one this time because this was I had gone through This isn't my first playthrough of this.
Wow.
I have
This
played
looks
this.
good, though.
Oh, it's a great game. I got
Wow,
really
does this
hooked
look
on it
good.
when I first started messing with it after you had talked about this.
It almost looks 16-bit, man.
Yeah, honestly, this was so late game, and Capcom was so good at this. This game reminds me of Mega Man in so many ways. Like a lot of the enemy types, the movement mechanics are actually way better than Mega Man. Because not only do you have really good air control in your jump, like better than Mega Man, you can also crouch, which can help you avoid fire and things like that. And you can also, if you press up, you can use your cape to defend against most projectiles. It won't help on everything, like it won't help against the flamethrower, but if somebody shoots like a bullet or something at you, you can literally block it with the cape. And that's necessary to avoid damage on some of the enemies. So
what are the bananas? Is those banana peels?
Yeah, they just stun you. They don't do any damage,
I was
but
wondering
they
what
stun
those
you
were.
and you get like dizzy. But you can see me crouching and like shoot people and everything like that. Then you can drop down from things to grab that. It's got a little bit of like I think Sneed said it reminds him of Batman. It's got a little bit of Batman DNA in there.
I mean, that's kind of what he is. He's like the Batman.
Yeah, I mean, he's basically like a Batman equivalent. And you get different gases that he can use for like his gas gun. There's like 3 different ones. There's like a heavy gas. There's the thunder one, which is what I'm using right now to make it through this section a little easier.
Oh, okay. I see. You just got, so it basically makes you fall, trip, and stun.
And then you're just vulnerable to whatever damage. But they all have like cool identifiable patterns and stuff like that. I think if I scan through this a little bit, we'll actually see the... Yeah, this was a cool section. Because when you get through like here, there's like a balloon. Is it going to actually play? Oh, God. No. What are you doing?
It'll probably, okay. Oh, that's neat.
But like if you drop down, you can like pump up one of those balloons and the balloon will carry you. And then here's where you can actually block some of the bullets and stuff.
This is probably the best looking NES. I mean, I know there's a couple that are good, like Batman's really good.
Some of the NES games really hold up. Like Batman NES holds up really well. I feel like this holds up really well. A lot of the Mega Man games will hold. I
mean, they're just stretching the potential, like what you could pack into a cartridge.
Yeah. Well, I mean, by 1992, Capcom knew this system backwards and forwards. They were really, really, really big on this system.
Like the character animations literally look like a Turbo Graphics or a Genesis, or it just has it's like a cross between the two. It's like a cross between 8-bit and 16-bit. And
honestly, this game reminds me a lot of like early Turbo Graphics because they really
exactly
the Turbo Graphics then, and so a lot of its stuff looked kind of like late era 8-bit.
Yeah,
which is exactly what this is. But let me see if I can actually get to the boss here, because there's the boss fights on this game are actually quite a bit of fun. Oh yeah, I love this boss. This is a character that they made specifically for this game. I didn't even realize that because I hadn't been paying attention to it.
I don't think I've ever watched.
I don't know why it's struggling like this.
I don't think I've ever watched Darkwing Duck, or if I did, I didn't remember too much of it.
I'm too just to pull it up from my computer because I've got the file right here.
Did I miss ECW? Oh man, I loved ECW, man. ECW.
I'm gonna close. I'm gonna remove this window and pull it up. There it goes.
Oh, there. Oh, it's like this duck.
No, this is a cool mechanic. He's basically a werewolf. They call him Wolf Duck.
Oh, okay.
And so when those clouds move over the moon, he changes back to human form, and then he'll change back until the clouds come back again. So you have to like pay attention.
Oh, I see the clouds. I see. Okay, yeah.
So that's really cool. I mean,
that is a neat idea. Fairy Monster Lair.
So it's a super fun fight. Each one of the things I love the most about this game is every stage had different enemies. Like they didn't stick with the same enemies on every single stage. You run into similar enemies, but you get new ones in each stage.
Which is normally an NES game, they just have like different color enemies in the later stages, but the same thing, yeah.
And then he takes off on like his bike when he beats somebody, which is dope. And then it'd give you like credits and points and everything like that. But as you're going through it, they've got like him, they've got
I like
Bushroot,
it.
they've got the Liquidator, they've got Megavolt, the one on the bridge. I want to say is their version of Toyman or Quackers. I want to say or something like that. But there's like 7 total stages in it. I actually beat this whole game. That's how into it I got. I managed to beat the whole game.
You beat the whole game?
I think it took me less than 10 hours. I think it took me like 6 to 8 hours to beat it. It was not that bad, honestly. Some of the stages are tricky. Like, I'll see if I can pull up the Liquidator stage because I'm going to pull it up in a different way.
I'd like to see it, man.
Like
I said, it's a beautiful looking game. I wonder what it goes for. I wonder what the actual cart goes for.
I don't know, to be honest.
It's got to be up there, I'm guessing.
I'm going to scan through and find
Emma Jade says Seth Rogen is rebooting Darkwing in a movie. He should use My Childhood Will Be Destroyed. Yeah.
I wish he would try to stop, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, we got to stop the rebooting. I think they should when they start making movies, they just need to put like a clause on there, a forever clause says never remake this, never reboot this. I think people need to come up with their own ideas and stop rebooting stuff. It's one thing to do a sequel or a prequel, but remakes are just come up with a different idea. It's already happened. Don't remake it.
I'm trying to find my media player so I can show this from more locally. There we go. Application window.
Makes me want to play the.
There we go. Okay.
If I can pull that one up.
Yeah, pull that up.
Here. Yeah.
So this is basically the Liquidator stage. And what's cool about this stage is they start playing with light in the stage like some of the Mega Man stages did. So when you go in here, you can flip the light so you can kind of see what's going on so that you can deal with the guys down here. But you can also see their shadows, much like you were doing on the Zelda game, right? And then as you get a little bit later, you see all these platforms. And this is where stuff actually starts to get a little tricky.
Oh, you can hang from like the little.
Yeah, you can hang from all kinds of stuff in this game, and you need to do it to get through some of these sections because you go through here, and then you have to pop up.
Oh,
and then go across, and then you have to pop up like again, and then you have to drop down, and you have to navigate through like this whole maze of like spikes and stuff, which is really, really creative. I like how they utilized that kind of like grappling mechanic to be able to do that.
Yeah, that is very interesting. Oh, I like the enemy that's coming out of the top with the hammer.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. They may have some unique enemies and some cool looking.
Yeah, every stage has some stuff like this. Like I kind of went for it here and went for the extra life, thinking I was going to get myself killed, and I think I almost did. I think I barely pulled this out because I almost got myself killed here multiple times. And then this is a bonus stage. It's the only one I ever found. I think there's probably one in each stage, but it's the only one I could ever find. I ran into it on accident.
What's that guy's name?
Oh, God, I can't remember.
He's like his butler or something, right?
No, he's like the lead person for Shush, I think is their name. It's like a spy organization that is like hunting down foul.
I just remember the character. I just don't remember his name.
But yeah, you just collect as much stuff as you can in this little bonus game.
Nice.
And then when you go through here, like the Liquidator is actually a really cool fight because he goes obviously liquid and then you can't hit him. So you got to use this platform to go around him to come down and then dodge all these things. So each boss battle is really unique.
Yeah. No,
so
it looks really cool.
Really into this game. If you can't tell, Liquidator. I had a blast with it. Apparently, this is a really wide range. Yeah, they bought it's on that the Chip and Dale games, the DuckTales games are, and I want to say Tailspin is all on the Disney collection. And I picked it up on Steam for like $5. I would have paid you probably $10 for this game alone, easily.
Oh, wide range. They go from 30 to 200.
Yeah, if you want
depending.
to play these, I recommend buying the Disney Afternoon Collection. It's pretty available. You can get it on Steam. You can get it on, I want to say PlayStation 4, Xbox One. I don't think it's on Switch because I looked for it because I kind of wanted a physical copy of it. When I couldn't find a physical copy of it, I just went ahead and bought it. And I did a lot of it between my Steam Deck and my PC. So it runs great on the Steam Deck. It runs perfectly fine.
Check this out. This is the Turbo Graphics version.
You know, I always heard mixed things about this, but
year.
most of my knowledge of this comes from AVGN, and he was not a fan.
No, because remember he kept trying to get that. He's like, I'm trying to get the D, and I can't reach it because I can't jump that high. But look at 1992, same year.
So it came out the same year.
Yeah, I've literally never played this. I'm curious. I'm curious to see.
It looks good from when he was playing it. It actually looks pretty fantastic.
I just want to see. Okay, yeah, okay, cool. Oh wow, I guess there's a lot of stuff that you got to look at or something. Okay. I was just going to see if I could jump into some action here.
I think it's just having you like identify everybody. I don't know what it's doing right now. Oh, it recommended a specific person. There you go. Okay.
There. I mean, it's your typical.
It looks so pretty, though. I love how it looks.
It does. When you crouch, you can. I think that NES one's really nice.
Oh no, I think the NES one's great, and the gameplay on it's spot on, dude. Like it's got a lot of Mega Man DNA in it, and Capcom was so good at platformers on the NES by that time. They were really, really, really hard to beat.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah. I just wanted to see kind of what it looked like, but yeah, that NES one is. I'm sorry, that looks absolutely
dude,
beautiful.
if you just pick up the Afternoon Collection, I think you would enjoy it because it's got 2 DuckTales games, it's got Tailspin, it's got both the Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers games, and it's got Darkwing Duck.
Is it on Switch as well?
No.
Oh, it's just
I don't
Steam?
think they ever released it on the Switch. It's about the only platform it's not on. I think it's on the Xbox One. It's on the PlayStation 4.
Oh, I mean, I could do it on Xbox then, yeah.
Yeah. And I picked it up for like $5. What's up, Monstar? So for $5,
Avatar.
it's for me. It was a no-brainer, dude. Just going through this game alone. I got my
one of my. I don't know if you've ever played this Genesis game, Quackshot.
That's a great game.
That's
a great
the most
game.
beautiful looking game. It's got yeah, it's over there. I don't need to pull it out, but yeah, it's to me, and I found it accidentally. Well, I shouldn't say found. I was in Huntington Beach, California, and I went to a shop. I forgot the name of the place. I'm sure it's not there anymore. And there is a lot of retro shops, even back then.
It's hard to keep a retro shop going these days, man.
Yeah, I mean, now I think there was, when I went there last time, there's a lot more because a lot more things are retro now. But think of this. Yeah. This was back in maybe 2001, 2002. Okay. No, it was about maybe 2001. I went there. Now, mind you, what's out at that point? Original Xbox.
Yeah, original Xbox.
There was no 360
GameCube,
yet.
I think, was out at that time.
GameCube was out.
PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2 was either on the way or already out.
PlayStation 2 was already out because I was playing SSX Tricky on Xbox and PlayStation
was
2.
Out and probably gone by that time.
Yeah, Dreamcast was out. That is true because I had a Dreamcast. I got it on clearance too. But where was I going with this? Yeah, I went to this retro store and obviously I was like, oh my God, Sega Genesis. And they were next to nothing. I mean, imagine at that point, no one cared.
Yeah, no one cared. The retro games were cheap around that time.
And I grabbed like a handful of them. I was like, oh my God, I was like, oh, I always wanted this, And then I think either it got thrown in with everything. Anyways, it was like this quack shot was like, I don't know, it was like $1.99 or something. I'm like,
Oh, it's a steal
Genesis game for $1.99, I'll take it, you know. And I took it home and absolutely fell in love with like the fact that you ran around shooting plungers and just the different plunger guns. Some would stick and you could use them as a ladder. Some could. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I didn't play that until I was doing emulation, and then I grabbed it on a whim because the box art looked kind of funny. And I booted that thing up, and I'm like, oh my god, I wish I'd had this when I had my Genesis. This is pretty amazing. Because what's funny about it and kind of unintuitive about the game is you get to points where even in the same stage that you start in, you can't progress. You have to leave, go somewhere else, and then you'll get like a new plunger attachment, and then you can like make the jump. Later, Emma. So you have to go back and forth through different stages to get different like attachments for your gun to be able to navigate the whole stage.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of back and forth in that game that I wouldn't have expected from a platformer like that. And I love the whole Indiana Jones kind of vibe out of it too.
Yeah. I liked when there's the goat, when you go into like the which you're talking about the quack shot or the tailspin?
Quack shot.
Yeah. I was gonna say quack shot. There's a level where you go in and there's the ghosts and you gotta kind of hide.
Oh, I think I played that one. Yeah,
it's so like you're in the mummy tombs, whatever. And the ghost kind of looks at you, and you got to like look the other way. You can't look at it, and you got to like duck down. And the animation is just adorable. It's old school Disney looking stuff. You know,
honestly, they did a lot of that. If you like that kind of mechanic, some of my favorite stages in probably Mario period are the Haunted Mansion stages where they have the boos, and the boos do the same thing. Like if you're not looking at them, they'll chase you and stuff. And as soon as you look at them, they get all shy and cover their eyes and stuff. And so you have to play with them as you're navigating this like confusing like haunted house, right?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. You're walking through a Halloween haunted house during the whole thing, and they're just really creative and fun and cute. So if you like that at a quack shot, you would probably really like Super Mario World.
Yeah, well, no, I played. You talk about Super Mario World at Super NES, yeah. Oh yeah, I played the hell out of it. That's probably the last one I really got into. Well, me and my cousins sat down and kind of collectively played Mario 64 because that was just huge at the time.
You know, going back and playing it in retrospect, it's not as big of a game as it felt like at the time.
I just remember going into the water and you were able to swim under the water, and then you saw like the fish, and like that kind of blew me away the way it looked, you know, at the time.
Yeah, at the time, the N64 doesn't age as well as a lot of other consoles. Just because of the type of graphics it doesn't. The gameplay, I feel like, still holds up on a lot of those because there's some games that really do hold up on there. I feel like quite a bit.
I'm trying to think of the stuff that I always got weird stuff. Like excuse me, I would play like the Clay Fighter stuff. What is the Clay Fighter 53 and a third or something like that?
33 and a third, I think.
Yeah, something like that. And then they had, I would do like the driving games, like the Cruisin' USAs and stuff like that.
Cruisin', I feel like actually holds up pretty well on there. That's a pretty solid game.
And then, obviously, like I had the Mortal Kombats and stuff like that. Some Street Fighter stuff.
I thought Mortal Kombat was pretty good on there. Going back and trying to play now with that controller, I think would be awkward. But at the time, I had a blast with it, and I loved Killer Instinct Gold on there. It was probably one of the best looking games on there, I thought.
I never owned that one, but I kind of there was another the wrestling games like WrestleMania.
Oh god, 2000, people rave on the wrestling games for the N64.
Where you create your own wrestler and your own intro, and I remember me and my cousins just playing that, and you did your own entrance music. You picked like what you wanted to do coming out from this thing, and you could change the face and the nose and the mouth. Like it was at the time, it was just like unheard of. And I like WrestleMania 2000. Oh my god, I should do a video on that. I don't even know. I think I have that still. Did you guys enjoy the Mega Man series? I nominate those for the next week. Well, that's another one I have literally never played in my life.
I played a couple of those, or some of them I haven't played. But yeah, to show you guys, honestly, They do not really. Here it is. Yeah. Check this out. Like, this is the boss rush. This has a 3% completion rate of people. You have to beat all the bosses in like an hour. And
this
then
is for what? For Tailspin or
this is for Darkwing Duck.
for Darkwing? Okay.
Yeah, because it's the only one I beat. 6.7% of people only ever finished the game. Only 6.9% of people beat it without rewinding it. Because you could rewind at any time in the game if you want to.
Okay.
Right? So that's just, in case anybody's going, well, did you really beat it? Well, there's the Steam achievements for me actually beating it. But I love Mega Man, but Mega Man hates me.
Shadows of the Empire.
I think the only one in the main Mega Man series I actually beat, outside of Mega Man Powered Up, which is like a chibi remaster of Mega Man 1, is Mega Man 2. Now, the X series, I've beaten 1 through 4. And 3 and 4 were a big struggle. Those are tough games.
Oh, I would definitely rage over all of them, I'm guessing.
Yeah. No, they're pretty punishing, dude. Like where Darkwing Duck, where
maybe I'll do some of my.
If you hit spikes, you take damage. If you hit spikes in Mega Man, you just die. Right? You're just dead. So there's definitely like a lot of instant death stuff. The mechanics are tough. The games are fun, but the mechanics are tough, dude. Like, no joke.
Big Block says, I didn't own Mario 64, even though I've been a big Mario fan, poor student at the time. I did buy Conker's Bad Fur Day, so I guess I remember that. It was like, oh my God, they're cussing.
Yeah, people loved Conker's Bad Fur Day, and that's one I never picked up for whatever reason. I didn't even pick up the Reloaded one that came out on the Xbox, which looks great, by the way. That still holds up really well.
I'd have to check that out. Yeah, I haven't... There's a
Luke's
lot of
Awakening
stuff.
played through, I want to say, both of those on his channel, so it's probably still up there.
Like I had like weird. I played like weird stuff. Like I shouldn't say weird. It's just like for my NES stuff. Obviously I rave about Robo Warrior, which is kind of an odd game. And then I
heard. I want to say Zombie mentioned that game too, and that's one that he really likes too. But that's one of those. It is one of those weird, quirky games because it's
just
part
out there.
It's never part action. Right? It's kind of a unique.
It's like an open world Bomberman, but it's also RPG.
Yeah.
You have a menu, you got a list of things to keep your robot alive, and you got to pick up different things like a boat, you need to pick up a candle, you got to pick up a lantern, so it's kind of this and you got to explore these caves, then you play these certain mini games to get the things. You got to find a chalice in every level, or the level will keep repeating. You got there's secret blocks you got to blow up. So it's kind of like a whole bunch of stuff wrapped in one, and it was like it's just a weird. It's not off brand. It's Jalico, but it's just I don't know. It's just weird.
It reminds me of a typical NES game that they either did one or two things. They either made it so obtuse that you couldn't beat it in a weekend, or they made it so hard you couldn't beat it in a weekend. And I think Darkwing Duck fell out of that because I think around by 92, I don't think they really cared about the rentals at that time as much.
Yeah, you're right.
You know what I mean? So I think they were kind of getting a little bit more lax about the difficulty level in a lot of the games, because a lot of the NES and Master System games and even Genesis and SNES games were really, really tough. And they were doing that because rentals were a big deal.
Another game I've never played or any series is Ninja Gaiden.
I've beaten the first one, and I haven't played 2 or 3. I've been meaning once I can do. I want to do a 1cc run clean on film of Ninja Gaiden 1, so I got to get back and practice again. I did it once on accident, and I wasn't recording. I was on a call, and I was out of things I could troubleshoot, so it was just there. And like if anybody asked a random question, because he wouldn't let me go. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to boot this up and mess around with it. And then I was glad I was on mute because I was like, no effing way. I just 1cc'd this. What the heck? Because I still haven't done it again. But yeah, Ninja Gaiden is a tough game. Oh,
Yeah,
it's a hard
I
game.
figured like anything like, and I've never liked the Shinobi games. I never played too. Used to watch you playing them. So like
Revenge of
my
Shinobi I
favorite.
beat, but that, oh god, that's a hard game.
So the stuff I played as a kid on NES, not to go off on too big of a tangent, but it was like Karnov, Punch Out. The main ones like Super Mario and
Punch
Punch
Outs.
Out.
I can't get. I get to Soda Popzinski, and I think I maybe beat him once every blue moon, but he's about where I stop.
Oh,
And
I
then
used
you've
to
got-
on a CRT TV. I can beat all that. Tyson, I'd have a hard time at because it's been so long, but I could probably eventually beat him.
I've never even gotten a Tyson in a game ever.
I've
I
beat
think
him
the
a few
furthest I've
times.
ever gotten is Sandman.
Once you get past those lightning punches, which sometimes, but anyways, yeah, Karnov, Hogan's Alley, Wild Gunman, Duck Hunt, stuff like that. Breakthrough, Data East game, Trojan, Anticipation, a board game. Played a little bit of that the other night. Jaws.
You were so frustrated with Jaws the other night, and I can understand why.
And I used to be so good and be able to play it like that, but it is frustrating because it's also random.
It's super
Sometimes you
random.
can have a bad game.
And Stu's like, what? What, Shinobi with the dog? Yeah, that one's Shadow Dancer. I haven't played Shadow Dancer. The only one I've really played a lot is Revenge of Shinobi, and that was an early Genesis release. And so I played that one, and I couldn't get very far in it when I was a kid, so I never picked
Should
up
be
Shadow
in this
Dancer.
coming week. Because it's your Golden Glove shirt in. So we had this. There's a homebrew of Intellivision called. I don't know if you were watching that stream where it's a one-player boxing because it was always two-player. You couldn't play without someone else.
Right.
So they made a one-player version. I'm like, it's like Intellivision Punch-Out. So I played the Golden Gloves round, and I beat the guy. And I'm like, I'm the Golden Gloves champion. I'm the Golden Glove. So I made a shirt that has the red pixelated boxer, and it says Golden Gloves champion. And I have the shirt. I literally ordered it that night.
Nice.
Because usually if I do just a one-off, they can ship it within a week. So I'm hoping maybe Monday or Tuesday that comes in. So you'll see it on a lunch stream soon. Skate or Die was another one.
I never got into the skating games on there. I never even really had TNC.
I used to love doing the tricks on the half pipe and going just. I absolutely loved that.
A bunch of people love that one, and a lot of people had mixed feelings about the TNC surf design ones. But I always thought the gorilla was fun looking.
I was gonna say you had the gorilla. And then Ghostbusters, even as frustrating as it was.
The Ghostbusters one you want to play is the Genesis one. That one
I've never played. That's another one never played. And they have a new version with Winston out now.
Yes. Yeah, I haven't played that
version. They have hard copies of it too, and I want it.
It has Winston, and it also has the accountant.
Janine. No, Rick Moranis.
Rick Moranis.
Louis Tully.
Yeah, I think he's playable. So I think they added two characters, not just one.
So another one was like, these are other weird ones. Top Gun, everybody kind of played that. Marble Madness.
I never touched that one. I avoided that one.
Marble Madness, Karate Kid, Kung Fu, Life Force, RC Pro-Am, Ice Climber, Pro Wrestling.
Mess with Ice Climber. Life Force is a fun game, but man, that game's hard.
Pro Wrestling
almost borderline cheap in my opinion, with the way some of the stages manipulate themselves.
Ice Climber is a hard. I have it on our arcade.
Oh, I was talking Life Force. I haven't
Life Force. Oh yeah, yeah.
Life
oh
Force
my god, yeah.
Off.
Big Block says I didn't play Ninja Gaiden either. I wish I would have back in the day. I'm sure it'd be very frustrating for me now. I think you guys have tons of. Oh yeah, there's so much weird, like so much mainstream stuff I didn't play.
See, that's why I went Darkwing Duck, because a lot of the mainstream stuff, a ton of the mainstream stuff I played. And so I'm going, God, what am I going to grab off this? Because I kind of wanted to stick to NES, at least for the first one, right?
Blades of Steel was the one that I played.
Blades of Steel used to frustrate me, but not
Blades of Steel.
Not because of the game itself, but I would always end up playing against a buddy of mine, and he could hit the B button faster than I could. So he'd win every punch out. It didn't matter how fast I tried. He would win every fist fight. And like my whole team would be in the freaking penalty box. Next week should be the original Zelda. I think he might have better luck with that one, honestly.
Rygar.
You know what? I booted up Rygar the other day. I've messed with Rygar a little bit here and there.
I've used to play it and beat it, but I what I had to do is go back and read the order of the stuff I had to do, because I never can remember the order I have to go. Like, I have to go get the grappling hook first, but I never forget. I forget where to go to get that first, and then everything else is easier.
Yeah, I just got the grappling hook on that one, but I
and
found
the bow to
as
slide
long as
across
continuing,
stuff.
It keeps all of like your levels and your items, and I'm like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, if you hold A and press start, it'll just keep restarting where you were. Or
actually,
maybe
just pressing start on my emulated version keeps all of it.
Oh,
like,
maybe
it starts me back in like the beginning, but I still have like all my life bar and my items. So it was kind of bizarre, because I didn't remember it doing that before, but it did when I was playing it this time. So I'm like, okay, I'll take it. But I got the grappling hook, and now I've like, and I got to the top of the first area where you can do the grappling hook, because there's like this one area where you can climb all the way to the top, and this bird drops this egg thing on you. And I'm like, I don't know what to do from here. But so I'm sort of lost in it.
Next week should be the new Zelda, right?
I haven't started Tears of the Kingdom. I've been trying to finish Kirby's Forgotten Land before I start anything else on my Switch. And so I was trying to get all the Waddle Dees, all the little guys for the town. And I think at this point, because I looked up what happens when you get that, and it's like, oh, they just put like this really stupid statue in town for you. And I'm like, maybe I'll just beat the game instead of like doing all this, because it's not. Some of them are more irritating than others to do, but none of them are like impossible to do. I just don't know if I want to put the time into it when I have so much other stuff to play to try to 100% it.
I do remember people having Fester's Quest. I myself never played it. Never played it.
Kickmaster looked fun, Panda. I'll admit, I saw you playing Kickmaster one day, and I'm like,
because it'll change your life arguably better than sex, or so he's heard.
See, Monster, I didn't really like Breath of the Wild. I didn't enjoy Breath of the Wild, and so I'm nervous about Tears of the Kingdom. But enough people told me it's different. That enough people told me that didn't like Breath of the Wild, that they love Tears of the Kingdom. That I'm like, you know what? I'm going to give it a shot. I want to at least give it a shot and see how I feel about it when I get my hands on it. And it's a Zelda game. I usually try to at least play most of those, if not all of them. And obviously, I have a backlog now because I have Oracle Seasons, Oracle of Ages, Minish Cap. I haven't played any of those. I beat that 2 on the DS. I beat 1 on the DS. Spirit Tracks, I struggled really hard with the last flute section, and I couldn't play it, so I couldn't open up the last set of tracks. So I get kind of just stonewalled there because I literally couldn't execute it.
People says that people that didn't like Breath will love Tears.
And that's what everybody keeps telling me. I just haven't gotten to it yet. I own it. I just haven't gotten to it yet. Because around the same time that came out, I really wanted to finally finish Metroid Prime, and the remastered version came out, and I'm like, cool, dual analog sticks on Metroid Prime. I think I'll have more fun with it this time. And loved it. Loved the remaster. And then I had gotten Kirby's Forgotten Land before that, and I'm like, you know what? I need to sit down and try to beat this game because it looked cute. And it's fun, but I don't think it's my favorite game on the Switch. Like, it's not
going back to the original
not a bad
Kirby
series, but it's always one I've struggled to stay engaged with for long periods of time. Like, it's fun, but there's something about it that doesn't always jive with me for whatever reason, and I could never put my finger on it.
I didn't play like the Kirby's Adventure until like later as well. I never played that as a kid. You know, because Kirby came, it seemed like later in the NES life too.
I think it started on the Game Boy, and then it moved to the NES.
I know I
think it was on the Game Boy first. Actually, I know the first one was on the Game Boy, and then Kirby's Adventure on the NES came out like a year or two after that. Was it like 88?
It says 85 on the back of this card.
Is it 85? Was it that early? Wow. Okay.
No.
Is it that early?
It can't be 85.
I thought the Game Boy version came out first.
Hold on. Kirby's Adventure release date NES 1993.
Okay, that makes more sense.
I think it's the cartridge sticker on the back. The caution and stuff is just a 85 Nintendo copyright.
Yeah, because Kirby's Dream Land for the Game Boy hit in 1992.
So I was already into doing 16-bit. I didn't care about Kirby. I didn't. It's me moving on. And I'm wondering, when did Mario 3 came out? That's another one that I moved on. I didn't care.
And Panda makes a good point, playing one that's actually had a remaster versus somebody playing the original, because the Link's Awakening is a great example of an amazing remaster, because Link's Awakening is a very good game on the Game Boy and the DX version on the Game Boy Color, but it's exceptionally good on the Switch.
Television Gamer.
What's up, Television Gamer?
Kind of coming in at the tail end, but it was a great show. Yeah, I don't know what I went off on an NES kick, but yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize, like, I have a lot of, I
never really think of you as like an NES guy, because you're usually playing like your 3DO or your TurboGrafx, or more often than not, you're playing your Intellivision.
Right.
Because that seems to be the system. Like, when you go to play a system, 9 times out of 10, you want to go back to your original Intellivision.
I do, and it's because a lot of it's because, well, I got that LTO flash cart now, and there's so many new games. There's almost 200 brand new games for the Intellivision now.
Yeah,
so it's like, which is the homebrew scene is unbelievable. So like, I'm all about that. So that's like what I gravitate just to see those. My NES though, like I do have a lot of love for it, and I feel myself yearning to play more of those things. Like, I want to go back and do a stream playing that the Jaws game again. Absolutely want to play some Jaws.
Yeah, I kind of want to get some more time in with Rygar, but I also want to sit down and get.
Rygar's
and I thought about using my Geeks with Cash channel just to store repositories of stuff that I completed. Like, get a good recording of it and put it up there, just to have it documented somewhere that I actually beat the stupid game. Legit.
Link's Awakening.
But I've been of two minds of it, because then I'm going to get sucked into that, and then I can't do stuff that's coming out on my channel, and what do I do, right? So how do I balance that?
Yeah,
it becomes my big problem, and it's more of a me problem than anything, because I mean, I was just playing some games, but
I was literally thinking of starting a second channel to do different content, because I feel like this channel is become the Intellivision channel.
It kind of has, but I mean, really I kind of figured that's where you wanted it, because that was your primary thing you want to do, right?
Like, I wouldn't mind starting a TurboGrafx, like, because that's like my second full, like, super love.
I would do something that has more flexibility. That way, you could do more stuff on it, not just until.
But yeah, like
TurboGrafx and Genesis and
NES.
Yeah, I mean, keep it like a retro channel, but I don't know that I'd pigeonhole yourself to like just one console.
Right.
I think you'd have more fun with it if you left more flexibility and latitude there.
Personally. Yeah. I'd want to do shows to where, like, if I'm doing a stream, it's like I'm streaming like a game to try to beat it. Like,
I feel like you need to take this name. I feel like Zebra Tank 2000 needs to be a thing. And it could be like a sister show or a Nemesis show to Panda Sub 2000.
Trademark. Zebra Tank 2000. Well, no, it would be Zebra Tank 1000 or Zebra Tank 3000 or 4000. I think someone's already got Mr. Sub 2000. Maybe it'll be how about Buffoonery 2001?
Space Buffoonery 2001.
Yeah. Zebra Tank date 2000. I found myself floating with a bunch of striped horses. They were kicking and screaming. Although I made it to the surface, they did not.
See, I feel like Panda would have way too much fun with this, because he would make you like a little astronaut so you could put your head in, and then you could just be like, ah!
Zebra Tank 2000. Maybe I should come up with like the weirdest name for the secondary channel and just be stupid with it. Flamingo Plays. Nick is correct. Oh my god. He's going to start a series of things that are better than Panda having sex. Well, most things are better than
that's everything.
Most pandas don't know how to have sex. They have to force them into it.
And then they're terrified
He's
of
no
their
exception.
own children. It's amazing. The only reason I think pandas are alive today is because people don't want to let them die off.
Right. Just let them die.
Like, I've literally seen them being introduced to their own kids and they run away. I'm like, how's this species surviving? I'm so confused.
They just keep forcing them to have sex, and and there's not many of them left. So at this point, they're all freaking inbred and getting stupider. They're like,
well, and then like the bamboo has so little nutritional value. It's like a terrible food source, but it's the main thing they eat.
It's like me chewing on a piece of bark out the front of my house or something.
Yeah. For like 9 hours to get any nutrition out of it.
All right, now here's the part of the show where I play all the way through Zelda 2. Now what do I do? Now what do?
Now, what would be fun, what we almost ought to do one day is, and that's honestly what I thought you were going to do with this, is I thought you were going to be playing Zelda 2. So I started playing Zelda 2. Because I'm like, oh crap, I haven't played this game in ages. If he just wants to talk about it, or if he wants me to help him while he's playing through it, oh God, yeah. I need to know how to play this game again. Right?
That would be a cool.
And that's feature. What I thought you were going to do with the show, because you didn't tell me cool that I needed to play a game I hadn't played until like 2 weeks later, as I've already done 5 palaces and gotten all my like sword, heart, and magic to 8 on Zelda 2. I put a lot of time into Zelda 2.
Dude, that would be a good thing to do in the future, is to help some like I know nothing about Zelda 2, to literally just go here, and then see how fast you can teach me to beat it on stream.
Yeah, literally go here. I need to go through it like a few times to kind of get the vibe of it again. But yeah, Zelda 2 is not a fast game. That would take.
Well, yeah, you'd have to be something different. Like,
yeah, because your first series on that would be you grinding XP for like an hour and a half. Like, no joke, because you're going to be killing slimes. They give you like 2 XP for a while.
I mean, I've done that. Well, you saw like the other night or the other day, I was doing. Whatever stream. I'm doing so many streams lately. I was playing Kadash again, and I grinded, got myself up to, I think, like level 6. Yep. And then it just all went to crap because I ended up losing all my health during the arms that come out. There's so many things that it's like 1 or 2 hits and you're screwed if you don't.
And Zelda, that's why the more I thought about it, the more it kind of made sense you played Zelda 2, because I'm like, you play so much Kadash, this is going to be the easiest transition for you. Right? Because it's going to feel like Kadash in a way.
But that's another one.
It made sense, kind of why you picked it and why you gravitated to it, even though I'm going, ooh, this is going to be tough. This one's going to be tough for him because it's just a tough game. It's no reflection on your skill as a gamer. It's just a tough game.
I'm trying to think of other games that I've like. Is there like games that I used to play through till I beat, like Breakthrough? I've done Mike Tyson's Punch-Out a million times, and I'm talking about when I was younger, not like recently.
Dude, I'm just surprised you beat Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. I could never even get close to it as a kid, and I still can't today.
Karate Kid, I beat.
See, I never even picked up Karate Kid. So
Ghostbusters, I've beat. Trojan, I've beat. Jaws, I've beat. Robo Warrior, Contra. There's not too many things I literally can sit down and play and beat, but those kind of would be them. RC Pro-Am, I used to play the heck out of that. I can't remember if I've ever...
I was never good at racing.
I got to the race cars, but I'd always end up dying at some level of the race cars.
I think the best I could get was like the second one where you get like the truck.
Oh, like the little SUV?
I think you start out with a truck, and then you get like this weird boxy SUV looking thing.
Yeah, it's like an SUV or like station wagon.
Yeah, and I think that's about as far as I ever got. And then I couldn't qualify anymore.
Oh, Nightmare on Elm Street was another one.
That's a tough game, dude. It's not as hard as...
I don't think
it's as hard as Friday the 13th, because Friday the 13th is so confusing.
The cool thing about Nightmare on Elm Street is you can hook up the NES satellite and you
Yeah,
can
and you can
play
play four-player
four
with it. Yeah.
players at the same time.
Yeah.
Like you can have the wizard, the friggin' acrobat, the friggin' ninja, and the friggin' I can't remember the other dude. The ninja, the acrobat. Anyways, you got 4 Dream Warriors, and you
Yeah,
can
that
like
was honestly, I thought that
so
was the
much
coolest
easier.
one for them to make that out of was Dream Warriors because it makes the most sense from a video game perspective. And that's another franchise I would like to see revisited because now that we've seen stuff like Scarecrow from the Batman Arkham series, I look at that and go, realistically, if you can do this, why can't you do a cool Freddy game? Right?
Did you beat Red Dead Redemption? See, this is the thing with those games. I do enough. They're so awesome as they're open worlds that I'll play
You
about.
end up not doing the story.
Right. So I end up playing so many missions. There's so many side missions. Oh, collect all the cigarette packs. Oh, collect all the cards. Oh, collect it. Then go and do this, and then do it. Rob the train. But I'm like, you know what? I'm over it. I just want to run around and cause chaos. So that's the point where I just start throwing dynamite in trolley cars and watching people go, oh my God. And I go around stabbing people's horses and stuff. They're like, why? You know?
I have a similar problem with that on like Rockstar games, and I start to
Same
lose
with Grand
interest.
Theft Auto. Yeah.
And I start to lose interest in them kind of quickly because there's so many side things that they force you to do for at least one time. And then they clutter up the screen so much that I just start getting lost in the game as to what I'm supposed to be doing. And then eventually I just go, okay, I don't think I want to play this anymore. And then I just put it down. Like, I don't think I've ever played through the story on a single GTA game. Like,
no,
I played part of 4, I picked up 5, played part of 5, and then I just never even touched them again.
5 was the worst. I did enough missions just so I could get a house and just go start walking around.
Yeah.
And then like 4 was what, Vice City?
No, 4 was I don't remember what they called. Vice City, I want to say was the third one. Was Vice City the third one? Because that was
the third one was San Andreas.
Or you had like this Russian immigrant guy, and I can't remember what they called it.
Oh yeah, you're right. Oh, Vice City was like a standalone, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it's just called GTA 4. I don't think it actually had like a title.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And then 5 was the same thing.
It was 1, 2, 3, Vice City, 4, and 5.
Yeah.
And then this 5 and 4 was Liberty City.
Yeah, I heard really good things about Vice City though, Panda. A lot of people say that's probably the best one.
Oh, yeah, the GTA trilogy for Nintendo
I
Switch.
thought about picking that up, and then I saw what they did with it graphically, and I saw all the bugs, and I'm like, I don't know if I want any part of this. So I don't know if they ever fixed that or not. But it looked really unstable.
Side quest in Tears of the Kingdom.
That's the thing is, like, I'm okay with them actually having side quests because I thought Breath of the Wild had very little to do outside of the main quest and just random shrines. I mean, most of that game felt like, okay, well, here's a side quest or two, but for the most part, just go into shrines and do the shrines until you're comfortable doing the next divine beast, or just go kill Ganon. It didn't really feel like they really wanted to give you a lot of side stuff. They just wanted to give you a world to play in. So it's kind of nice that they're trying to add more stuff in with like tiers. I think that's a good thing if they're going to keep going down that model.
Yeah, I remember. I mean, like I said, I haven't played any of the other ones, and maybe I need to play like an open world Zelda and see what I think. You know, I heard Twilight Princess is pretty good too.
Twilight Princess is pretty fun. I thought it was a little too long because it took me like 50 plus hours to finish that.
Oh man, then that probably wouldn't be a good one.
And for me. I thought there was a lot of weapon redundancy in there. Like you get dual grappling hooks in there, which is useful, but it's only really useful in like one dungeon. And it felt like there were a lot of one-off things that were only kind of useful for like one thing, and then they weren't useful again. So it felt weird having to go in through and pick these things up. But it was fun. The Wolf Link part of that was actually kind of cool. It's one of the times I didn't hate the music part of the game very much. That one in Wind Waker. Wind Waker, I like the music.
Wind Waker. Yeah, those were Wii, right?
Wind Waker was originally on the GameCube and got a re-release on the Wii U, and I think the Wii U version's better.
Oh, okay. I got Twilight Princess is here on the Wii.
Twilight Princess is on the Wii. Skyward Sword originally came out on the Wii.
Skyward Sword is the other one I got.
Skyward Sword got a re-release on the Switch as well.
Zelda Four Swords Adventure is fun if you have.
Apparently, that one's on. I think that one's on the Nintendo service now, and you can play it solo.
Oh, that's crazy.
Is my understanding, but yeah, it was really designed for like to put the game in and then have like 4 Game Boy Advances plugged into your GameCube. That's really what it was originally designed for.
That is awesome. Well, it's coming around 10 o'clock. I'm gonna call the stream, but
yeah, I should go figure out what we're doing for dinner in my house too, because it's almost 8 o'clock here.
Yeah, I gotta feed the cat and find some food myself. Anyways, thanks everyone for showing up, and like I said, this is like the first in the series. I want to try to do these at least every other week, or when I can. I'd like to have you back on, Nick. Well, there's so much stuff I think we both could play.
Dude, I'm happy to come back on for this one anytime you want to have me on. If you want to mix it up with different people, that's cool too.
Yeah,
I think having more than a week per on this is better, because then we have time to kind of work in the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Time with it. And maybe I'll do a better job of recording it next time for the footage and stuff like that. I just threw something together.
Oh, yeah, no, that's actually fine, because that way you can kind of go through it. I should probably have done the same. Just played that and just like with no... Because when you take the audio, then we can just talk over it. You're right. It's like a lot easier. I'd like to do... I know Panda's going to come on for the next one I do, but afterwards... I mean, anybody can come on. Heck, we could have 3 people on. It's like, it's not a big deal.
It doesn't matter, dude. It's whatever you want to do. I just when you want to have me on.
Yeah, because I really enjoy this, and there's so much stuff. Like Mega Man might be the next one that I need to try to.
Yeah, the only Mega Man I've ever beaten is Mega Man 2 out of the main Mega Man series, and there's a lot of some of them I don't even think you can get your hands on now unless they're on collections now. Because like I want to say 8 and maybe 9, I think were on the Wii, and that Wii store's gone now. So I don't even know if you can get your hands on those. I'd have to look that up. Because there were some of those I messed with that I'm like, I don't know if I can even get my hands on this anymore.
Well, thank you, everyone, and thanks to Nick. What do you got coming up on
the... I should be on.
What do you got coming up on the GeekStorian channel?
I am actively trying to work on my next game mechanics video. I'm doing one on physics. I've been a little behind on recording it. I got a lot done last weekend, but I haven't done anything this week. I did get my 2 main videos out this week. I did one on Monday on Cozy Games, which is kind of a new branding of a game type that's kind of been around a little bit longer than everybody thought it had been, but nobody really gave it that kind of name before. So it's kind of a new game type that's sort of emerging, or how people are identifying with it now, that I thought was fun. I had an oddity drop yesterday on Time Traveler. Sega's Time Traveler for the arcade. That was the only holographic game.
Oh, yeah, the hologram one. There was another fighting game too that was a hologram.
Was there? Was there another one? Okay, because I
never remember the name of it. Hold on, I can look it up. Sega hologram games. Yeah, there was 2. The Time Traveler, Coliseum.
Okay, that was the one that Vinny was telling me he played. Because I had only played Time Traveler. It was the only one I ever saw.
Okay, so there was Time Traveler cabinets that were converted into a holographic fighting game named Coliseum.
Okay.
Kind of in the vein of Street Fighter, but in the Time Traveler cabinet. So there it is. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because and that whole cabinet's really interesting. Like, I wasn't sure it was going to be as interesting as it was when I started looking into it, because I knew I kind of wanted to do it at some point, because it was the only holographic game I can ever think of, like, period. And I'm like, okay, it's cool enough that it needs to be in the oddities, because it's something that most people wouldn't even know existed.
Oh, those were absolutely insane. I remember seeing those at an arcade back in the day, going, wow. I mean, I'm trying to remember where I saw it. It was just like a big arcade in I'm trying to remember when that came out, like the 90s or...
Yeah, it was like 91, dude.
Yeah, it was. I remember seeing it. I can't remember which one. I just remember it had the little, like, it looked like a little platform and a little
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
you
they had
saw
like a little black dais right there on the cabinet.
Yeah.
And I found out from doing the video they called it a mini stage, right?
Okay.
And so they had to do some trickery in order to make it look like the hologram that it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you guys check out the video, it's about 6 minutes long. It's not too bad. It kind of breaks down how the cabinet functioned,
awesome.
how the game functioned a little bit. It had some news. They did like a couple of channels did news coverage on it, so I had some clips and stuff from there. It was a fun video to do. I think it's worth the watch. Then I think everything on my channel is worth the watch. I'm biased.
There you go. Me too.
No,
Everybody
I actually really like the content on my GEEKSTORIAN channel. So, and I've tried to build all of it so that, it's all evergreen. You can come to it at any point,
right?
And it doesn't matter. There's no, well, this happened, now this isn't valid anymore. It's just, it is what it is, right? So it's always kind of a cool thing to kind of go back and watch a lot of those. Even a lot of the retro root streams are that way. There was one topic in this last one that was kind of like pointed to the time, but for the most part, those are just conversations that we have. Like topics that would stay just fine.
Oh, and the last retro roots was fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, it was an adventure.
Do you want to see a train be derailed like at high speed?
I don't think it was only on the rails for maybe 2 seconds and then went off. It went off to Crazy Town.
Make sure to sub to Zebra.
You know what? I had fun with it. Everybody seemed to have fun with it. So I don't really lament it at all. I'm going to slap my channel in here in the chat. I think most of you guys are already subscribed to it. If you're not, take a look at it, see if it's something you like. If you like it, sub. If you don't, no sweat on me. I'm not going to worry about it too much. It's there. If you like it, cool. And that's kind of how I treat the content. I find something that I think is interesting, and I'm going to do a video on it. I'm going to put it up there. It fits in the vein of the channel. And I'm not too, I'd like to see them do well, but if they don't, I'm like, it's kind of a niche anyway. So I don't stress it too much. So it's just a channel that I have fun making content for. And I think the content's worthwhile. So
absolutely.
That's about it. And there'll be more stuff coming on there. I've got a Neo Geo video written up that I haven't done any editing or recording on. There's the game physics one. I want to get more into getting the longer term content out. Because I'm good about getting the short form stuff out, and I'm not good about getting the long form stuff out. I need to get better at it. So that's one of my goals this year, is to start to get a little bit more regular on that, and then stay that way. So that I can kind of push that, have more of that out there for people. Because I feel like people really like that. I'm not providing as much of it as I want to. That's all.
Yeah, I'm my next stuff. I have a video. I'm still trying to finish the editing because I've been doing real life stuff a lot still. But I want an Anthropomorphic Force, or AF, a new game, new homebrew game for Intellivision, that from Electronite and Kai Magazine. I've been doing a little stream on that. It's a space shooter, really cool looking. I'm actually doing a video on it just to kind of showcase it, and so that'll be coming out. I do want to do some more 3DO content. I'm trying to get the Demolition Man game, so if I get that, I'll probably do another 3DO Thursday. I know people keep asking.
I heard a lot of people like that game. I've heard good things about it.
I owned it as in the 90s. I don't want to say a kid, as a teenager. I owned it. I absolutely loved it. It has elements of fighting, shooting, and driving, and it's just kind of a neat, weird, I don't even know what, it's just such a cool game. And there's actual like Sylvester Stallone's actually does like video acting, like
didn't Alvarado work on that one? Yeah,
and I'm trying to see if I could get him to put some time aside. I want to pick his brain and interview him about that, because he was on set in direct, and there's a whole thing with like once of them like showing Sly going, dude, this is what the game, and then when he was like, oh, you're really gonna see me acting in this, like he took it all seriously. It was like, let's do this, like he was all about it, because there's things of him, and I'm like, I know it was new footage because it's the game, and he's talking to you, and he's like, come on, shoot, and he does this thing where he's like rolling on the wall and holding up his gun, and and going like this, and he's like really getting into it, and I'm like, oh my god, dude! I'm like, this was like
that's great that he got into it. I love that movie. Like that.
That's such a great.
It was such an unexpected hit for me because I didn't expect it to be as good as it was, and everybody leaned into it. That the premise just sounds silly and stupid, right? It seems like on paper you look at it and go, "This isn't going to work." But it's one of those things, you got the right people in, they leaned into the script the right way, and they made it something really special, right?
So good. Taco Bell, all the restaurants, the three seashells never explained. Then he cusses, and he's like, what did you do all those cussing? He goes, toilet paper.
The thing is I think they had a talk with the director, and even the director goes, no, nobody knows what the seashells do.
No!
Like, it wasn't supposed to be understood.
Seashells.
Like we never actually came up with any premise behind it. It's just he doesn't understand the seashells. That's it.
I would love. Oh, could you imagine a Demolition Man 3? Like it's in the future of the future at this point, and and Sly and Wesley are all old, and then they have like he gets. Oh, dude, they're gonna be. Or wait, I can't remember. Does he die? He dies at the end though, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, Snipes' character's gone by the end.
Yeah. Darn it. Well, it's the future. They could have regenerated him or something.
They could have done something with him. You never know, man.
I think I would love to see that, but at the same time, that's such a... Oh, my God, I forgot Sandra Bullock's in that.
Sandra Bullock's in it, and she's amazing in it.
She's beautiful in that as well.
Yeah. Actually, part of that cast, I didn't realize how much of that cast rejoined, but her and her partner in that one rejoined in Miss Congeniality. And I didn't put that together until I sat down and watched Miss Congeniality, and I'm like, holy crap, you guys have done a lot of movies together.
Maybe his
Demolition Dog.
Demolition Dog. All right, we got to get out of here, guys.
Yeah, we got to go.
On that note, on Demolition Dog, when you start talking about dog sequels, now a cat sequel will talk, that's for sure. Anyways, guys, thank you so much. Thanks to Geekstorian. We will be back with more of these. I was happy to do this. It was fun, and we will see you in the next one. Thanks, everyone.
Hey, guys.